Mayong adlaw na usab natong tanan ug ako nang hinaot nga kitang tanan ana asa kapiskay sa panglawas ug wala ka itay dagkong problema nga giatubang. As much as possible we live simply. The more simple life we have, the more manageable it is, and wala ka itay hunaw-hunaw, diba? And do not forget to always praise our Creator, our God, the owner of all the masterpieces we see around. The previous module discusses about the fine line separating the roles between an artist and an artisan. As a review, an artist creates artworks merely for personal objectives, expressing something he has in mind, or simply for creating something beautiful. His works do not have utility function. An artisan, on the other hand, creates something with a purpose other than personal objectives. He creates something so that others make use of it. That's why he is more commonly referred to as a skilled worker and works on a specific expertise which he actually learned through traditions. This is something passed down from generations within his own family or within their communities. He may be a carpenter, a sewer, a tinsmith, or a calamine maker, just to name a few. You also learned about the different roles of people engaged in the art world. The most common, though, is being an event coordinator, an event planner, an event stylist, or what we commonly know now as an eventologist. This role needs experience and actively participating in school-based events, in barangay-based events, in the events sponsored by your own SK is a good way to start. Today, we're going to talk about the elements of art. These are the building blocks of art. When we say building blocks, the foundation. Just like building a house, you need a strong foundation so that the house would be strong enough. In art, these elements enable the artist to achieve what he plans to create based on the designs he keeps in mind. Hopefully, you will learn the following from this video, or intended outcomes. First, identify the elements of art. Second, describe how an element provides meaning of the artwork. And third, show examples of artworks that feature a particular element or a combination of these elements. There are 7 elements of art. These include line. Line is composed of points moving in space, creating a length that is greater than the width. Lines can be seen as 2-dimensional or 3-dimensional and can be implied or can be an abstract. A line could be horizontal, zigzag, vertical, diagonal, spiral, curved, or broken. And there are still many other forms of lines. These are just the basic lines. Lines convey meanings. Straight lines often evoke orderliness and neatness. Wavy lines are used to emphasize movements, while a zigzag may imply tension or excitement. Line is the foundation of writing and of drawing. The next element is color. It creates specific moods, atmospheres, and channels different emotions. A color is described using its 3 components. The first component is the hue. The hue simply is the name we give to the color, like yellow, blue, green, etc. These are the hues of the color. Next is intensity. This is the vividness of the color. This is also the saturation or the purity of the shades of the color. And lastly, value. This is the darkness or lightness of colors. Colors class actually are either warm, like red, yellow, and orange, or cold, like blue, green, and violet. Next element is value. Again, value is the lightness or darkness of colors. It starts with the lightest, which is white, and ends with the darkest, which is the black. White results when all energies are reflected by the surface of the object into the atmosphere, while black is developed when all energies are absorbed by an object. To make a difference between values, one can use contrast, the state of being strikingly different from something else in juxtaposition or close association of these elements. Here comes the shape. It results when lines met and closed. Shape is two-dimensional, which is length and width, and flat. There are two types of shapes. First is the geometric shapes, which are distinguished by clear edges, like in the case of a triangle. You will see the three edges there, the square or the circle. Most of these shapes are man-made, but we can also find them in nature, like the beehive, which is actually hexagonal in shape. Another type is organic shape, which has a natural look and flowing and curving appearance. It is typically irregular and asymmetrical. When you divide the object, you will find its asymmetrical look or asymmetrical component, or they're actually irregular. And they are associated with nature, like the plants, the animals, and all the things you see around. Take, for example, the shape of an avocado or a dog. They are irregular. They are in free form. These are examples of organic shapes. In art, organic shapes are chosen when attempting to create a piece that looks natural, flowing, soft, or calming, meaning something that is free-flowing. Meanwhile, geometric shapes are used to create a sense of chaos, anger, rigidity, movements, and other types of similar situations, as well as abstract interpretations of things that are normally depicted as organic shapes. Now let's go to form. Form results when shape acquires depth and becomes three-dimensional. Most of the common forms we see around include cubes, spheres, pyramids, so the pyramids of Egypt, and cones, like the cones that we use in the ice cream. These are geometric shapes. There are also forms that are free or free forms, like the domes or the most modern architecture or structures like the Burj Khalifa and other similar structures which you cannot find the clear edges. Next, we have space. It is described as any area that an artist creates for a particular work. So it's there in the artwork because the artist intends to create this one, because it has meaning. There are positive and negative spaces. Positive space is the area occupied by an object or form. So if you will see an artwork and you see the object there is space occupied by the object or the object per se. That is the positive space. The negative space is the empty portion that runs between, through, around, or within objects or forms. So if you see spaces anywhere in the artwork that is not occupied by the object, that is the negative space. It runs between, through, around, or within objects or forms. Spaces could be a background, a foreground, or a middle ground. So it's anywhere in the artwork. Space is created and manipulated to convey meaning using lines, shapes, forms, colors, and other elements. The last but not the least element is texture. In identifying the texture, one has to use the senses of sight, our eyes, and touch, our skin. Texture refers to how an artwork looks when you see it or feels when you touch it. It could be sandy, smooth, brittle, stones are brittle, fluffy, like a pillow, or hard or soft, and so on and so forth. And, well, here are the examples of artworks that used one or more of these elements. Let's take the first example, a painting entitled Portrait of a Man in Red Chalk by Leonardo da Vinci, which was completed in the year 1512. It was created using incredibly fine and intricate lines. As you see it in the artwork, there are wavy, fine lines, intricate lines. These lines actually picture out an old man. Using only red chalk, Da Vinci wanted to show the real side of human nature as we grow old, like the flaws, the wrinkles, which actually signify old age. The next example is the painting entitled Autumn Landscape with Boats, completed in 1908 by Vasily Kandinsky. The complete name actually is Vasily Vasilievich Kandinsky. He adhered to his theory of color. He believes that color is powerful and it helps in people engaged in the artwork. He believes also that each color has its own dynamic character and has a different effect on the susceptibility of the image of the viewer. And it is also a means of meeting together the interpretation of one person with another, and with regards to the own interpretation of the artist, because the meaning of colors there are standard meanings of colors, so that's why. And yes, colors are very powerful, according to Vasily Vasilievich Kandinsky. The next example is an artwork by the Italian painter Michelangelo Merese da Caravaggio, completed in 1610. This is a timely example because we are celebrating the season of Lent this time, and this was the scene in the Bible in which Saint Peter denied Jesus Christ. He denied that he was one of the students of Jesus Christ, and he was one of the 12 apostles. So Michelangelo Caravaggio used sharp contrast, the value of sharp contrast between dark backgrounds and bright lights to add drama to the picture and to really give a realistic touch on it, so that when the viewer sees it or looks at it, he will feel the emotion. The next is the Sunflower, or the Litarnisol, in 1920 by Edward Sticken. Is a colorful abstract work made from geometric shapes. So if you look at it, there are different geometric shapes dominated by a pyramid-like structure that fans open at the top. So Sticken used shapes, okay, to convey his message in this art. Next is the Panem, created in 1968 by the urban planners and architects Wolf Dupre, Helmut Swierczynski, and Michael Holzer, it is a free-form structure inspired by Noah's Ark. But if you see it, it's like a spaceship. And actually, people in Austria mistaken it for a spaceship that has landed near Linz in Asten, Austria. So, form was used, free form, to be more specific. The next artwork is the 16th century painting called Akbar and the Elephant Hawaii, completed in the year 1561. Actually started in the year 1561 and completed in 1590 by Indian artists Basawan and Chaturmunti. The size of the figures and the space they created helped to give a depth of the painting. It shows a drama-filled scene and further emphasized by the small and big spaces. So if you look at the painting, you would tell that there are emotions, there are commotions happening. And actually this is more emphasized, or these are more emphasized by the spaces created. The last example is an artwork that is emphasizing texture. And this is a stone art of an unknown artist. We all know that stones could be rough, smooth, hard, or brittle. And when we touch it, we would feel the texture. And even if we just see it, we could already understand the texture. Now it's your turn to find other examples of artworks that are focusing on specific elements. When these elements combine, you'd expect to create the artwork that you intend to do. Remember, every artwork is unique. The story behind it makes it even more interesting. So if you have a plan to do something, go, proceed, and share it. Let somebody appreciate it so that you will find meaning in what you have done. Always remember also that an artist or an artisan cannot create art without using at least one or a combination of these elements. These elements will also help us understand what the artist or the artisan has done, analyze the message he communicates through his work, reach a common point in discovering the meaning of his piece, and communicate our thoughts, our feelings, and our findings using a common language. It is the best way to have a common understanding. And that is all about the elements of art, my dear listeners, my dear students. I hope that you learned something from this presentation. Thank you for watching and listening, and always stay safe. Goodbye for now and have a good day.